nothing's going to force me to change. And to me, it's kind of like you're standing at the ocean and telling it to turn left. Yes, I love that live music. Not live, but pretty live. It was recorded live, but then we played it taped. I'm so confused right now, but I still love that damn theme music. And we're going to go ahead and welcome you to episode 4 of the Promo Upfront podcast, Party in the Back, the mullet of all podcasts. I'm one of your hosts, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, the original good time player man, the one and only Dr. Kirby Hasseman. Kirby, how the heck are you today?
I am doing really well, really well. This week's been a blur. And I think, we've said that several times. I think you had sort of the blur week a couple weeks ago during the launch and all that stuff. This week's been the blur week for me. I've done a bunch of speaking in a row. I've got more today. And it's like a little bit like this, but it's been fun. So I'm doing well. How about you, man?
Good for you. Just kind of coming down after Brandvacate week and getting some actual work done, which is good. Getting work done is always a good thing. You know what else is a good thing, Kirby?
What's that, Bill?
Thank you so much for knowing to ask. That'd be your good pals over at commonsku. That's right. They allow you to connect your team and streamline your workflow from anywhere.
Yep.
Not just everywhere, anywhere. It's that cloud-based software that allows you to run your entire promotional products distributorship, from creating presentations to invoicing your clients and everything in between. It's for every aspect of running your distributor business. And I know you've been a big customer for a long, long time. And honestly, I don't think you'd be nearly as successful without it.
No, it's funny. I actually, in one of the talks I gave yesterday, I talked about commonsku and about sort of one of the things that I was reluctant almost to use. And that was the sort of the CRM function and tracking my activities. And it's one of those where I just felt like it was busy work. And then when I started implementing that piece of the system, oh man, it made such a big difference in our sales process. And so, there are a bunch of different things we could talk about with commonsku, but yes, it helps you be more successful in the program.
And I can tell you that CRM that they have is an actual module you can live in. We all talk about you should live in your CRM.
Yes.
That's a CRM module you can actually live in. So it helps you stay connected with your clients, stand apart from the competition, and close more deals to dramatically grow your sales, which honestly, that's what we all want to do, right? We want to grow our sales, increase revenue, increase our profitability. So visit commonsku.com. Visit commonsku.com to learn more and join the community.
I love it. You're
not going to be sorry you did.
You will not. You will not.
Awesome.
Be sorry.
All right, Kirby, are you ready to broadcast at a reasonably high level today?
That seems like a good thing to shoot for.
So one thing I want to suggest real quick before we jump into this, if you want to subscribe anywhere, if you just listen to the podcast, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. That's Apple, that's Google Play, that's Stitcher, Spotify. Just do a search in there for Brandvacate Radio. And then if you want to watch us on YouTube, we'd love you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that, just go to YouTube and search Brandvacate, and you'll find it. You'll get all the podcasts and content that we do there. So having said that, a very shameless plug. I feel no shame. Let's talk about the Promo Upfront topic today.
Yes. And
I have the topic. Kirby, let's talk about the Counselor State of the Industry report, which go ahead and cross that off your list. You don't need to talk about it. I've got it today. There we go. Look at you. Got it on your computer, ready to roll.
Right.
First of all, before I get into this, I had a nice text exchange yesterday with Michelle Bell from ASI, who is the editor over there. And her team does such a ridiculously incredible, comprehensive job looking at the industry and being candid about it. I think it's very difficult sometimes to share the bad news. And there's some bad news in this report, folks.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be too surprising to anybody, but I want to give a shout out to Michelle Bell and her team over there at ASI, who do such a tremendous job every year putting this together. They change up how it looks every year. It's not just wash, rinse, repeat. So just quick shout out there. So they talked about everything. It was so comprehensive: products, tech, sales, sourcing, markets, PPE, staffing. So here's some of the findings, and I just thought we'd discuss them.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So the revenue in the industry that ASI reported in 2019 was $25.8 billion. They are projecting for 2020 $16.8 billion. That is a drop off of 35%. Does that sound about right for you?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. As I have this up because I figured we'd be talking about it, and I guess I wanted your take on it too. So I thought it seemed, I was surprised. I was a little
In
bit
which way?
surprised.
How are you surprised?
I was surprised that the drop off would be that significant. And again, I'm not arguing with it, but it did catch my attention. A 35% drop. Now, that being said, much like everybody else, our sort of March, April, May was atrocious, right? It was 50% drop off. But for projecting for the whole year that we weren't going to have some sort of rebound, that surprised me a little. I mean, we're starting to see that, not enough to get cocky about it, but the idea that we wouldn't rebound as an industry a little bit more than that, that surprised me.
Yeah, I actually thought it would be a little bit more, to be honest with you. So it surprised me in the other direction. But I think the fact that so many distributors are selling PPE actually makes that number not as painful as we thought it would be. I really thought it'd be worse.
Okay.
I really did.
Yeah. I and again, I think we're all myopic in our own way, right? And so we're starting to see normal orders, requests, that sort of thing come back. And so, you know, I look at that and go, well, gosh, we're still in it. So by the end of the year, maybe I'd see, and that's what I'm saying.
I think we're going to be in it. I think it's going to be a wave up and down until we either figure out how to live with this thing or there's a vaccine.
Right.
So, all right. So they also said in the report they expect a wave of closures and acquisitions. Now, we know there was a ton of acquisitions already happening in our industry. I do think the COVID-19 pandemic will exacerbate and accelerate that. So I agree with that.
Yes,
and I also
agree with that.
And I also think there's going to be a bunch of closures. I think the number I've used is going back to this 35%. Honestly, when people have asked me, you know, what do you think the future of the industry is? And I've said, I think you'll see about a 35% attrition, meaning people leaving the industry, businesses closing. I think you're going to see that just because there's not, I think people are going to, I think because of just, there's so many people selling the same products at roughly the same prices to the same people. It was already a competitive landscape. And now you add this into it, it might be too hard for some people to compete. And if you're not adding additional services like what you do, more of a boutique service, more of a full service agency model, you're going to find yourself standing at the back of the line, and you may not be able to stay in the line long enough to get to the front.
Yeah, I might, and I think this is one of those moments where I might be being overly optimistic, but I think that the thing that will keep that from happening, I kind of think that that's high.
Could be.
I
mean, it's a shot in the dark.
Yeah, no, it's fair. We're both just making wild ass guesses, right?
Absolutely.
But I think that the thing that will keep the closure rate and the exodus from happening is the mergers and acquisitions. Yeah. Like I think that we'll see people coming together. Those folks that are struggling, I think they'll look for a safe haven to work with. Maybe a distributor going to one of the big boys, a supplier combining. I think we'll see that. That's sort of my prediction. I think it's going to be a lot of that.
Well, I think, and that does also factor into attrition too. If company, you know, one company absorbs another, that
it's a good point.
Selling company ceases to exist.
Yeah.
All right. Obviously, there's going to be thinned out offices and smaller staffs, much more work from home. Obviously there, but I think it was worth the conversation. They think PPE is here to stay. I do too. You know, one of the things that is very interesting to me with this whole pandemic, and it's not talked about a lot. People talk about, well, when we get a vaccine for this, things will be fine. There is no guarantee we're getting a vaccine for this, folks. There's no vaccine for the flu. There's no vaccine for there's no vaccine for AIDS. There's no vaccine for a lot of viruses out there. Yes, I'm optimistic. I think we will, but there's also a possibility we don't. And so I do think PPE is here to stay. Just like the people who lived through the Great Depression, their world experience was altered from that moment, those moments going forward. So how they saved money, how they trusted or didn't trust banks, how they did trust or didn't trust stock market, so on and so forth. I think this experience will affect our generation in the same way. So let's even say there is a vaccine. I think you're going to see a huge proliferation of people wearing masks at airports and in large areas where people congregate. So I do think PPE is here to stay. I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. The idea, and again, same thing as it's going to evolve. I mean, we're so new really into this. But yeah, I agree. I think PPE is at least here to stay for the foreseeable future. And I'm with you on the vaccine, by the way. I mean, there is a vaccine. There's a vaccine for the flu, right?
Yeah, but it's everybody year.
Everybody gets the flu. So I think that your point is exactly right. I think that we are living in this time, and it's going to be for a bit.
All right. So let's talk about a little bit of the positivity, because there's some positive things in the report. Some opportunities, healthcare and safety, obviously. Education, obviously. It's different. Everybody's educational experience will be different in the next probably 12 to 24 months than it has been for decades.
Yeah.
Manufacturing and distribution, construction, and finance and insurance. So there are still opportunities out there where people are buying promotional products. And the one I didn't see in there, now granted, it was such a robust report. It might be in there buried somewhere, but I couldn't read every word. It was just so much. And I do want to sit down and really read it. So shame on me if I'm about to be redundant. Because I never want to be the redundant man of redundancy.
Never.
Ever. So one of the things I do think there is creating virtual, with all the virtual conferences going on, I think there's a real opportunity. The only way to really connect is through promotional products, because people aren't shaking hands. They aren't having that cocktail together. It is such a great way to truly connect is thoughtful, intentional, purposeful promotional merchandise. So that's an opportunity as well.
Yeah, it's funny. We had a conversation yesterday. You know this. We have a 10 o'clock meeting every day for our sales team and our team. And one of our sales team members was saying, look, I'm looking through the rest of the year, and a lot of my customers' events aren't happening. So my sales are probably going to be down.
Right.
And I had sort of a visceral reaction to that, to say, no, not necessarily. First of all, we are the stories we tell ourselves and the actions we take upon it. So we need to, that's part one. But part two is, I think, we need to look at it from the idea that the events that our customers go to market with are not happening. So they have a hole to fill. They have a problem to solve. Absolutely. And we need to look at it differently. And that's the people who are going to succeed, I think.
It's all about the optics, Kirby. It's how you look at it. All right. And then they had a real cool section, which I thought was really cool. Lessons from the 2008 recession, which is probably the one thing we can all, if we live through it in this industry, we can look back to and say, okay, what can we learn from that downturn in the economy to help us get through this? Keep prospecting. I think that's an obvious one, but yeah, you got to keep prospecting. People are buying. They're just buying differently.
Yep.
I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and he said, it's hard because no one's buying and no one's marketing. I'm like, you're wrong. I'm going to call bullshit on that. Yeah. People are buying. They're just buying differently, and people are marketing. They're just not doing it in icky ways. So you just find a way to do it. All right. So keep prospecting, diversify your client base. That's something you should do all the time. But right now, if you had all your eggs in one basket, if you had all your eggs in the events basket, that's a tough one.
Right.
Prioritize your relationships. Watch your finances. That's something we should do all the time, and we don't. Be compassionate. And then I decided to add one that I didn't see. And again, it could be in the report. I didn't see it, so shame on me again, possibly. I like shaming myself. It's a public shaming. Be bold, and don't be afraid to rebrand, transition your business, redefine your why. This is the perfect time, no matter if you're on the distributor side or supplier side, to decide, who am I and what do I stand for, both as an individual and as an organization. There's been no one likes, everybody who says, I hate change, what they really mean is, I hate change that's forced upon me. When I'm guiding the change, I'm all about it. Yeah. I love it. When I'm deciding I want to move to Florida, that's no problem. When my kids are mad because I'm telling them we're moving to Florida because I'm forcing change upon them, it's the same thing. So this COVID-19 pandemic has been forced upon us. Yeah. So no one likes it. And no, of course no one likes it. What a stupid thing to say. But of course no one likes it. How can you use that? Because in every crisis there's opportunity. And this is a truly phenomenal opportunity to really kind of narrow down, figure out what your why is, who you are, and what you stand for, and really kind of get out of this in a real positive way. And so I think that's a very important point. At least I thought so, or I wouldn't have written it down.
No, I agree with you. And I think it's kind of to tap upon that. I mean, obviously, like that was definitely something that we did, right? We kind of looked in the mirror and said, what is it that we're all about? And then what are the things we said, hey, someday when we have time, we'll do this, this, and this. And I think this is a great opportunity, whether that's rebranding, whether that's offering a new product initiative, whether for us, it was like, okay, we're kind of all about content. How can we double down on that, create classes, create whatever? And those things don't pay off in day one or day two.
No,
but they're long-term plays. And I think a time like this is the time to do it.
No question. And so, but there's still people who are like, I'm going to keep doing business the way I've done it. Nothing's going to force me to change. And to me, it's kind of like you're standing at the ocean and telling it to turn left. That doesn't happen. Yeah. You need to transition. You need to evolve. And this is a great time to kind of force yourself to get out of that comfort zone and evolve. So again, kudos to ASI. Yeah. Is there anything I missed you want to talk about with this?
No, that was good. I mean, you covered it so extensively. I was surprised by a couple of things, but you're right. They did a great job.
They do such a great job. All right, Kirby, why don't we dive into the regular part of this podcast where you just bring up a topic and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, cool. So this might be a quick one. Okay. But we had covered the LA Apparel conversation, and LA Apparel is back open. They apparently met the standards that they needed to meet, and now they are back in business. What is your take on that?
I assume if the good people in the LA Health Department said that they are following the guidelines that they've put in place, they should be open. I still, again, when trouble and controversy follows a person around, generally it's that person. It's not just happenstance. So I don't know Dove. I've met him a couple times. I don't care for his business practices, at least what I'm aware of. So I have no comment other than, okay, great, good. Let's hope that they actually follow it this time. I just find it horrific that 4 people died and over 300 people got the coronavirus. So that to me, that sticks in my craw a little bit, and I think it should with everybody.
Yeah. And I think that, in a world where we talk about promo cares and how, so many of us and so many of the folks who are a part of that initiative and many others are trying to make a positive difference by utilizing the promotional products industry, doing essentially the opposite. I think that's the reason that you and I find it very frustrating. We have the ability to make an impact, and we're making one, not in the right way.
No, it's an impact. It is an impact. Speaking of impact, Kirby, what's your favorite promotional product this week? Because we're at the time of this podcast where we like to share the product one of us is using. We can't live without it. What is the product you're using today?
Okay, so I don't like winter.
Kirby, it is well documented. You do not like any temperature below 72 degrees.
That's right. I like summer. And so when I think of summer, I think of lakes. I think of pools. I think of beach towels.
Love the beach towel.
Beach towel is what I just lost my headphones, but essentially a nice beach towel. They say the average lifespan is 7 years. So,
I'd say it's longer than that.
Yeah, in my house it's about 30.
In my house it's about 20. When I would do talks in front of end users, one of the examples I use is if you doubt the efficacy of a promotional product, I want you to close your eyes with me right now and picture your linen closet, and you're about to go to the beach or the lake or the pool. What is the oldest beach towel you have? And what's fun, because I get to see the smiles on people's faces, they realize how long they've had beach towels. And I'll ask them, what are the brands of those beach towels? I bet each one of you can name the brands on them, and they can. Beach towel, for its price, is one of the most essential promotional products because the branding area is so huge and nobody throws away a towel.
Nobody throws one away, and they shouldn't. Especially if you do a half quality towel. Yeah, and they're valuable for years and years and years.
Just think if you did a 2/3 quality of a towel, how long people keep it. I mean, whoa. All right, Kirby. I saw this earlier this week. It bears mentioning.
Okay.
The world's biggest trade show, Computer Supplies Expo, CSE, is going digital for 2021. Now, for those of you who don't know, CSE is in Las
CSE
Vegas.
or is it CES?
CES.
Yeah, sorry.
CES, computer. CES, folks. Hi, I'm Bill Petrie, and I know what I'm talking about. All right, CES. Sometimes when you're typing these notes, because I do take notes. So CES has decided to go digital for 2021, and for people who don't know, CES, the Computer Electronics Expo, it is so huge. It's the largest trade show, I believe, in the world, and it's certainly the largest one in Las Vegas. It's always the week before PPAI Expo. So the Computer Electronics Show is huge. It's enormous. They're going digital. PPAI has been very forthcoming and saying, we're going to have the show. It's going to be 50% of a footprint. We're expecting 50% of people to show up. What does this mean for PPAI Expo in your mind?
Oh man, I think when I saw this, it was a big eyebrow raiser. And you know this, like, number one, I think like everybody, I'm excited to get back after it. I have been planning to attend PPAI.
Right.
I know many people are, flip-flopping about whether they want to do that or not, but I've been pretty much from the beginning, yes, I'm going to be there. Yeah. As a matter of fact, next week's going to be an interesting take, Bill, because OPA is doing an event, an in-person event next week. And I think if that goes as we hope, safely and well, that will bode well toward PPAI. We have to figure out a way to do these events in person at some point. Yep. And so I definitely am still planning on being in attendance in Las Vegas PPAI, but that's a big announcement.
Yeah, I don't see a prayer that it happens, unfortunately. To my opinion, I could be wrong, but man, when CES shuts their doors, say we're not doing it, we're going to do it all digitally. Man, I just can't see it happening. I just, the momentum is not going in the right way for us to have that trade show. It's just not. And I guess my biggest concern, again, assuming PPAI does say we're going to go digital or virtual this year for Expo. One of my biggest concerns, and it's something people aren't talking about, which just boggles my mind, with CES not going to Vegas, possibly PPAI not going to Vegas, which is one of the top 3 or 4 trade shows Vegas has every year. How are the prostitutes going to make a living this year? Seriously, no one is thinking about the adult sex worker.
Oh, I think somebody's thinking about them. That's highbrow stuff there, Bill.
Well, look, I think we're an inclusive podcast. I'm joking, of course. But I mean, I do, from all seriousness, I don't know if we're going to have an expo. My gut tells me we don't. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope is it the Sales Safari at Kalahari? Is that next week?
That is correct. That is correct.
I hope it goes well. And look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. And I think PPAI should hold out as long as they can before they have to make that decision. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was shocked when CES or CSE, when both organizations, CSI. when all 3 organizations decided to go digital this year, I thought that was a pretty big news. Pretty big news.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. Do you have another topic for us, Kirby?
Okay, really quickly, before we get to the party in the back. So
yes, sir, mullet.
So I was thinking about, like I think a lot of people who create content, I pay attention to the analytics of, so if I write a blog, what is the readership? And if I do a post, what are the likes? And, I've sort of made a shift in some of the content we're creating for the Hasseman marketing website. And in doing so, you've got to sort of give yourself grace that the initial traffic is going to drop.
Yes.
Right? Because you're changing your strategy. You might not put as much out there, whatever. But one of the things, I can be obsessive about looking at those metrics. Mm-hmm. But I think it's important to understand that likes and traffic on your website do not pay the electric bill, right?
No.
And so
it's an ego stroke, certainly.
Big time. And I think there is value in those metrics, but I can sometimes live there. Like, And so I wonder I guess the question I have for you is that something you struggle with where you're like, oh, I need to, why aren't people reading this blog?
There are times I do, sure. I think I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing, and I realize the content I put out has a means to an end. And so the means to an end is to hopefully give back, hopefully drive people to the website, and hopefully, convert leads to customers. I mean, I'll be honest, that's what a lot of the content's for. But it is easy to go down a rabbit hole. Why aren't people reading this blog as opposed to this one, or why aren't people listening to this podcast as opposed to that one? But again, what I remind myself is I don't know what everybody's day is like. So I may put out a blog and somebody's day might be blowing up. So like someone who normally would comment on a blog and they don't, I'm like, well, did that blog just suck? Or are they just, is life happening to somebody? Or maybe it just doesn't resonate. So I try not to look at it so much as an ego stroke. I'll be honest with you. There's times I have, but I really try to look at it more as it's a tool. It's an outlet certainly for me to be creative and expressive, which I need. That's an outlet for me, the writing, the podcasting, things like that. But it's also a means to an end. Am I giving value? So I try to look at it. If readership is down, if listenership is down, if viewership is down, the question I ask myself more than anything is, did I give the value I intended to give in this particular piece of content?
Yeah. Well, and I think just for those listening who might want to start content is like, I think sometimes we have unrealistic expectations of what those views are going to be. If you have 5 people look at your stuff when you first start, that's okay. And honestly, it's where you start. So.
No question. And the other thing is you got to remember too, especially now,
oh, there's so much.
There's so much content out there, and there's so much good content out there, and there's quite a bit of shitty content out there too. So you have to cut through the noise. And that's why, you and I, a lot of times people say, man, I can't believe you guys are so transparent about how you do things and the way you go approach things. It's like, well, because I know I'll do it. We're consistent. Like this podcast comes out every Friday at 7 a.m. We did an other podcast. Came out every Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time for 4.5 or almost 4 years.
Right.
That consistency breeds loyalty. That loyalty breeds eyeballs. Yeah. And that's how it works. It's not a hard math problem, folks. It's really not.
I agree. Cool.
All right. I don't think we have time for my other topic.
We can?
No, I'm going to wait. No, that's a tease, folks. That's what you call a tease in the business. So Kirby, we are now at the mullet of the podcast, the party in the back. It is your week. I am putting down my notes because I have zero idea what we're doing on the mullet part of the podcast.
Yeah, I'm actually excited about this one. Like you generally, I want to give you credit. You generally are much more creative about this sort of thing than I am, but thought of this last night, made a few notes. So we're going to do, we've had these kind of Zoom meetings where there's happy hours, right?
Yes.
So this is going to be a happy hour, either or.
Okay.
Happy hour, either or. So are
happy
you ready?
Hour, either or. Are there any wrong answers, Kirby?
There are wrong answers.
Okay.
I don't play that game, man. There's always wrong answers.
So I'm walking in a Kirby Hasseman minefield right now.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Okay, you're at happy hour.
I am at happy hour.
Free beer or cold beer?
Is the free beer warm? Or is it just dealer?
Yeah.
I'm going cold beer.
Okay, so you're paying. Got it. Okay.
Paying.
Budweiser, Coors Light.
Budweiser for days.
Miller Lite, Bud Light.
God, they're both so terrible. I'm going to go Bud Light. I don't like Miller Lite. I don't like Miller Lite at all. First of all, they spell light wrong. It's Light. It's not Lite.
It's called branding.
Second, it's called spelling. It's called improper English. It's like calling consumer the CSI show, the CSE show, or CES show, or whatever I called it. Budweiser Light all day long. Spuds McKinsey. Who could go wrong?
Okay. Sam Adams Boston Lager or Sierra Nevada Pale Ale?
Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I don't like Sam Adams Boston Lager. I've tried to. Now, I will say they have some really great beers I do like. I don't like their flagship beer.
No problem. That's why I was specific.
Yep.
Whiskey sour or margarita?
Margarita.
Truly or White Claw?
Bud Light Seltzer. Their Bud Light Strawberry Seltzer is pretty good. Or the Corona one. Actually, the Corona one The mango Corona seltzer, not bad. It's pretty legit. I've had the Truly. It's crap. I've had the White Claw. Crap. So there you go.
Okay. So Truly or White Claw?
Truly.
Got it. Whiskey shot or tequila shot?
Oh, tequila shot for days.
Vodka Collins or martini?
I'm going to go vodka Collins.
Old fashioned or Van Halen?
Oh. So I'm going to answer this in the only way I can, Kirby, and I appreciate you knowing to ask this. I'm going to go old-fashioned while Van Halen's playing in the background. Because but that way I can consume both, and that's really what it's all about, is consuming good content, much like consuming great products like the good folks at commonsku have. Kirby, they have that cloud-based platform we all know and love so much. It allows you to connect with your team, streamline your workflow from anywhere, everywhere, and all places in between. Helps you run every aspect of your distributor business. commonsku has the tools that enable you to stay connected to your clients, stand apart from the competition. I love the presentations they create, by the way. And close more deals to really, really, really grow your sales. So head over to commonsku.com. Good possibility you're not going to be sorry you did. So Kirby, I appreciate your party in the back. That was a good one. I believe I acquitted myself extraordinarily well. I didn't get everything right as you did last week. You really knocked it out of the park last week. I didn't come close to that. Maybe in 2 weeks when you have the party in the back again, I'll live up to that high aspirational.
You did a fine job, my friend.
Fine is the worst word in the world.
That's right.